Hi, this is Chris and welcome to the Compulsive Hobbyist. I'm getting close to the end of the fabric portion of this project. My wife and I have already covered the 2-foot by 2-foot squares, and the last piece for this phase is the 2-foot by 4-foot one, which I think is going to be a little trickier for a couple of reasons, which I'm going to go into now. So without any more preamble, let's jump into it. So we've got two different sort of styles here, and I don't mean the artwork, but I mean the way that I printed them out. With this one here, I went with the basic 2-foot by 2-foot, and it's actually not 2-foot. It's going to have a 2-foot panel in the middle of it. It's actually 25.5 inches end to end in each dimension. So I printed out a 25.5 inch by 25.5 inch image. And then in this case, it's surrounded by just the white of the cloth. Whereas this one here, I center the image 25 by 25 or 25.5 by 25.5, and then let the image run over. In this particular case, I was able to do that because the original album art was centered just about like this. Maybe not exactly, but pretty close. But then I was able to get a high resolution image which extended beyond what would have been sort of cropped in on the album cover. So I was able to use that to really wrap around the sides. So, there's no right way to do it. It really depends on how you want to set it up. Now there are advantages in doing it this way because you can line up the image to the edges of the frame. The problem is you need to be able to account for the stretch of the fabric, which is not going to be easy to do because based on each individual fabric, based on how much you stretch it when you're installing it, you're going to risk getting some overrun, which I got here. So this is not perfect. And this is not because it was misprinted or mismeasured. It's really because of the stretch of the fabric. So if you're looking for perfection, I haven't found that yet. I'll be going into more detail on how to get a more perfect, if I can get there, alignment on my next round of videos where I'm going to be doing the artwork for my media room. But for now, I'm okay with close enough. I'm not too worried about whether I can see a little, overrun depending on where I'm standing. And I'll probably hang this so that I'm more likely to be looking at it from this angle than from this angle. Whereas this one here is pretty well, this is going to work from any angle. So now I'm on to the big one, which is going to be a 2x4 square. Not 2x4 wood, but the actual 2-foot by 4-foot panel going in, and then there's going to be a larger image around it. And I did something different when I designed this for the printout, which is actually going to make this challenging for me. So there's going to be some trial and error here. And we're sticking kind of with a Pink Floyd theme on this one. So let me get the Beatles out of the way here. Get Animals out of the way and move on to the next album, which is The Wall. This is a Gerald Scarfe watercolor, I think. Fortunately, I was able to find a high resolution scan of this because the original artwork went up on auction, and the auction house posted a really detailed photograph, which I then had to run through sort of an AI image enhancer to sharpen it up. That technique doesn't always work well. It doesn't work so well for photographs, but it really worked well for this. It gives it a nice crispness, I think. So I gave it a white border. The actual frame will go over this, which, something like that. So I expect to see some white all around it. The problem here is that that's going to be really difficult to line up. So I'm just going to have to do the best I can. May actually take me a couple of tries. But again, I'm not aiming for perfection here. I'm aiming for good enough. So what I'm going to try to do to line this up is I'm going to start to center it. I can kind of see through where the border of the image is. I'm going to try to center it left and right and start by tacking it right in the middle. That's going to kind of pre-stretch in that direction and then lock it into place. Then I will have the flexibility to stretch it out in the same way and hopefully in about the same amount. Vertically do the same thing, lock it into place. Then I just need to work my way alongside in either direction to get everything sort of centered and hopefully equally stretched so it's not distorted. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is run this till it stretches really right up to that point where I can see the edge through here and start by tacking it down. So we've got it centered here and here. Now I'm going to do the same thing right here. I'm going to pull it approximately the same amount. And then this I will pull again. So I'm lining up. I don't know how much this is going to show, but I'm seeing through the cloth and seeing where that edge is and lining it up against the board. Now where this will be tricky is now I need to get these so that these lines are all aligned without introducing creases into the cloth. So what I'm doing here is I'm really kind of pulling the corner so that ultimately I want that line to be straight across the bottom and across the side. It may not be perfectly straight, but I want it to be pretty straight because I don't want creases and I don't want uneven stretching. But you can see here that it just takes a little bit of force to even this out. You don't really have to wrench it down. You just kind of need to just be patient, work your way around. I think maybe I didn't stretch that quite enough, so I think I'm going to need to pull this out here. All right, let's take a look at the result here. This might not be perfect. I might need to go and adjust it. Let's get a drum roll here. Yeah. It's going to need some fine tuning, but I think we're close. I think we're close. I think vertically, it's pretty good. I think it's going to work. Not perfect because you can see it kind of where the staples are. It's kind of a little wavy, so I'm going to need to go in between and really straighten it out and fine tune it. But as you can see, that's really just a matter of, yeah, like right here, this is going to need to be pulled in a little bit. just to straighten it out. And you can see this is, even though I pulled it, I stretched it a fair amount, this thing is still flopping around, but that fiberglass material is very rigid. So we push it in, and then we put the backing on it, and then we're going to fine tune it and kind of even it out. There's a little trial and error in there, but as you can see, this isn't rocket science. As long as you have a good edge to work off of, it doesn't have to be exactly aligned with the edge of the board. But you just need a visual reference so that when you get the thing on and you kind of see it through the cloth, hopefully, everything's going to line up. Now, counter that to something like this. Yeah, there's a little bit of a Pink Floyd theme here. This was black with a black border. So the way that we had to line this up was on the side edges. We had this piece here and the end of this spectrum here, which didn't quite make it to the edge. And then it was centered a little vertically high because I believe that's how the album art is. Now I'm questioning myself here. I'm going to have to look. Yeah, there we go. Actually, I think in the album art, it's even higher up than I have it. So mine is actually maybe a little bit low, but yeah, see, when I look at this one, that's about right. So I think I got it about right. But again, there was something I could use to align the edges, even if it was just a little bit. Whereas this one didn't really have that. I mean, because the picture actually extended over. So in this one, I'm actually questioning whether I have it maybe a little bit too low. Like maybe the picture should be a little lower in the frame, but it's good enough. So we've got really a few different techniques in terms of how we want to handle the edges. I don't think there's a best way to do it. It really depends on what you're going for. So now I'm going to go in and kind of fine tune it so I can see that this is kind of bowing in and then it's fairly straight. So I've got to correct that bowing right here. All right, now I need to figure out how to do these corners. So the way my wife did it is she kind of wrapped it around. She folded it, tucked, wrapped around, and then stapled it on the corner. Very neatly and precisely. She's very neat and precise. There we go. It's just kind of tucked in. And I think she cut it around here. I don't want to cut until I really know for sure that it's in the right position. Quite get these folds right. I gotta do it again. There we go. That's better. So again, there's no rocket science to these corner folds. I'm just folding one end under the other, and then the trick is just doing it neatly and getting it nice and smooth before you staple, because once you staple, it's locked in. Not too bad. Not bad. Is it perfect? Probably not. I think it's close enough. Close enough for me. Anyways, that's it. I'm going to end the video here before my wife comes in and points out my flaws, or the flaws of my handiwork. So remember, you're not aiming for perfection. You're just aiming to be happy with the results, and I'm happy with it. So next video, we'll be working on the backing. See you there.